Alright, 2001 Chrysler Sebring 2.4. Got a blown head gasket, so I'm gonna go ahead and tackle this. I got a little bit of water in the oil, so I'm gonna have to change that. But other than that, the common symptoms are gurgling through the reservoir and getting really hot. And I replaced the thermostat and gasket, and make sure you get your rubber on your cap. That's very important. Make sure that's in good shape. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and start disassembling. It looks like a pretty straightforward job. I'm going to go ahead and take off some hoses and stuff and go ahead and start here. And it looks like at this point the alternator is going to probably have to come off, which is right there. And mainly just a lot of hoses stuff, so we'll take some video here and document everything, where everything goes. And that way when I put it back together, it shouldn't have too much of an issue. But the only big issue I want to have probably is getting that manifold off in the back. I'm either going to have to unbolt it from the pipe or unbolt it from the head itself. But I'll figure that out here in a little bit once I get some stuff tore off here. But like I said, it's 2001 Chrysler Sebring. It runs, it starts up, sounds good, just gets hot. And I did notice that the fan did work, it did kick on, but it definitely has a head gasket that is decided to go. And to show you, I'll go ahead and check the oil here, put the dipstick back in, pull it, check the oil, pull it out, and voila, look at that. That's not good, water in the oil. So that's what I'm against. We'll have to go ahead and take care of that, so I'll go ahead and shut this off and start, and I'll check back here shortly, let you know how the progress is going. Alright, we'll give you an update here. I've got the intake taken off, and I've got I had to take off the EGR valve, which is here, unhook the tube and everything, if you can see there, but it connects there. And actually, if I can get, this is it right there, this piece. All you gotta do is kind of hook it there and just lay it off the side. But these wires here are pretty tight and they're stiff, and there's no point in breaking anything, so I just got all this off to the side, and that head will come off over here. Should have no problem with it. Now, one little thing here that I did have no problem with is this bracket here that covers up the injectors. I had to unhook all this. These little bolts here are 10mm bolts, one there, one in there, and two long bolts down here. This goes on top of the intake plastic piece. So this here was kind of a pain. I had to take all these wires off, and the injector stuff, took this whole wiring harness off and got rid of basically all that. And you can see the wiring harness for the injectors over here off to the side. Get to pull that through. So other than that, I'm going to continue taking it apart. I got to take that off and take those plug wires out, and then I guess take the alternator out, and then start working over here, taking this plastic stuff off, and go from there. But that's so far so good. So we'll check back in here in a little bit. Hopefully get all this taken care of. I'd like to get the head off tonight, about 9 o'clock, 9:30. And I've spent about 2 hours on it so far. So if I can get all this, if I can get the head off tonight and look at the gasket, I'll be happy. Then I can put it together over the next 2 days. Starter looks pretty good. Kind of pain to get to that. Looks like you can get to that over here in the big alternator. I don't know, probably a 120 amp alternator. I'm not sure, but we'll give you an update here in a few minutes and let you know how it's going. Slow but sure. Taking lots of pictures. Another update here. One other thing I wanted to tell you is I took the reservoir out and unhooked one of the AC lines and pulled it up out of there and kind of snaked it out over here. This little one here I'm just going to have to work around it. It's kind of still attached unless I can take it apart in the back. Actually, I probably could just disconnect it there and just pull the whole thing off after I get this valve cover off. And just pull it out. That'll give me plenty of room here to work in there where that belt is. But I'm taking my time here. I mean, it's going to save you a lot of time. You don't want to break anything, and that's not worth it. Just take out the reservoir and put the power steering unit off to the side because it's still full of fluid. And I'm not going to even disconnect that. I don't think I have to at this point. So all I got to do now is take the alternator out. Take that cover off, and it looks like there is if I remember right, I'll have to unhook that plate there, that motor mount. So I'll probably have to prop up the engine just a little bit underneath, put a jack under it, and kind of hold it up as I take that off. But just so you know, that has to all come off just to make it a little bit easier. So we'll give you an update here shortly as it continues. Alright, got the timing belt on and everything. It was kind of a bitch to do, but finally got the marks lined up there. Got the crankshaft down there on the #1 position, straight up and down. I got the covers back on, and I gotta actually loosen the motor mount back up and let it drop down a little bit so I can put the damper pulley back on. And all I gotta do is put the intake on and valve pan cover, gasket, and some wires, and alternator. I'm in pretty good shape. I could probably start this here in a little bit. So it's going a little slowly, but you got to make sure you get your timing marks just right. And if I can zoom in there, you can see these two little marks right there. What you got to get together straight across. And there's instructions online how to do that. But that's basically how you do it. If you get those in there and make sure that's pointing straight up down there on the #1 mark on the oil pump there. There's a little mark. Make sure those marks are lined up and you should be good to go. Alright, give me an update here shortly. Alright, day 2. I actually had to stop last night because I actually caught a pretty bad cold. So today I'm feeling a little bit better, and I wanted to give you a quick update here. And it looks like at this point I was going to take this bracket off, but I can't take the bracket off until I actually take the harmonic balancer off and the power steering belt, which I've already got loose down in there. So if you can see it or not, the power steering belt, that's ready to come off. So once I take that harmonic balancer puller off, then this plastic cover will come off. Then I can take the bracket off. Then I can get into my timing belt and so forth. So if you have any issues with that, I advise you to do that first, because that makes it, I think that's the order it should be in. Of course, there's the water pump I'm just going to replace also. And also, I loosened up my transmission motor mount bolts right there for the front of it on the block. I took out the 4 bolts just to give me a little more room here for the engine to kind of sit down, because that was the easiest thing to do to actually get that puller off right there, to get the wheel off. Because it will hit the top of the frame there. So I had to drop it down. It should clear it just about right. So hopefully we'll get that taken care of here shortly. And hopefully we'll get it done this afternoon before it gets dark. It's not raining, which is good. It's kind of chilly out today, but nice and warm here. So we'll check back in here a little bit. And oh, one other thing, I just kind of pulled the power steering unit out of the way for now, the hoses and stuff, kind of put it back over the engine. So once I get the wheel off here, I should be in pretty good shape. So far, hasn't been too bad, but it can be done. The only problem is with the firewall here, where the strut is so tight to get into these gears and everything. But I should be able to get in there and mark the 2 gears there for the timing and all that. So I'll give you an update here when I get everything. Hopefully a little closer toward the end. Thanks. Alright, day 2. I actually had to stop last night because I actually caught a pretty bad cold. So today I'm feeling a little bit better, and I wanted to give you a quick update here. And it looks like at this point I was going to take this bracket off, but I can't take the bracket off until I actually take the harmonic balancer off and the power steering belt, which I've already got loose down in there. So if you can see it or not, the power steering belt, that's ready to come off. So once I take that harmonic balancer puller off, then this plastic cover will come off. Then I can take the bracket off. Then I can get into my timing belt and so forth. So if you have any issues with that, I advise you to do that first, because that makes it, I think that's the order it should be in. Of course, there's the water pump I'm just going to replace also. And also, I loosened up my transmission motor mount bolts right there for the front of it on the block. I took out the 4 bolts just to give me a little more room here for the engine to kind of sit down, because that was the easiest thing to do to actually get that puller off right there, to get the wheel off, because it will hit the top of the frame there. So I had to drop it down. It should clear it just about right. So hopefully we'll get that taken care of here shortly, and hopefully we'll get it done this afternoon before it gets dark. It's not raining, which is good. It's kind of chilly out today, but nice and warm here. So we'll check back in here a little bit. And oh, one other thing, I just kind of pulled the power steering unit out of the way for now, the hoses and stuff, kind of put it back over the engine. So once I get the wheel off here, I should be in pretty good shape. So far, hasn't been too bad, but it can be done. The only problem is with the firewall here, where the strut is, it is so tight to get into these gears and everything. But I should be able to get in there and mark the 2 gears there for the timing and all that. So I'll give you an update here when I get everything, hopefully a little closer toward the end. Thanks. Okay, I did rent a wheel, a harmonic balance puller and everything. Got this at the parts store, like 120 bucks. They give you your money back. And of course I rented one of these little pullers here, and wanted to make sure I got this thing started. But one thing you have to kind of watch out for, make sure my camera is zoomed back here a little bit. Let's see. There you go. This rod they give you is not quite long enough. So what I did, I put that on there. I got the harmonic balancer out so far. Now I'm going to use a penny and put over, you can see this, put a penny over the end of this here where, well, let me out here in the light. I'll put a penny over top of this right here over this. That way, I'm going to put the rod back on. The rod won't go back down through the hole, and I can get more leverage here and pull that harmonic balancer the rest of the way off, because what happens is this rod just quite isn't as long as it should be. Alright, update. I got the wheel, got the harmonic balancer pulled off. As far as I can get it, this rod that came with the kit that I rented is not quite long enough, so I'm going to stick it back in there and put a penny over the end of this right here to keep that rod from going back down in there. So that'll hopefully get that the rest of the way off, just so you know. And also make sure you put a little oil on this bolt that you twist here, because when you're twisting this, it'll get really hot if you're using impact wrench. I didn't. I used regular ratchet, but it makes it turn a lot easier, and it'll last a lot longer. Of course, this is a rental. I don't want to damage it. I want to get my money back. So I'll go ahead and finish taking this off here and give you a quick update. Alright, another update here. I am actually right now working on the harmonic balancer, taking it off, and you can see I got my tool on there, and I went as far as I could. The rod would let me, so what I did, I stuck a penny. You can see it in there, but there's a penny stuck in there on the end of the, let's see, it's just kind of hard to see there, but there is, it's kind of hard to see. Let's see, where is it? Where's the penny? There it is. You can see it right in there on the end of that rod, so the rod doesn't go back down into the bolt. But that's what I did. That's the only way you can actually get this pulled the rest of the way, the harmonic balancer the rest of the way off, because that rod just isn't long enough. But looks like this is going. I didn't want to tell you about that. it's a bitch to work on, but if you've got a couple years of mechanical experience, you can get it. But once I get that off, then I can get my cover off and get up there and get that belt off and stuff and start working on the head. So close to getting it off, so hopefully we'll get it off here in a little bit. This is actually a puller I rented from Advanced Auto out there, so $120, but they give you your money back and all that good stuff. So this is actually a brand new one. I'm the first one to use it, so make sure you don't damage it, and also make sure you put some oil, spray a little bit of oil on that nut there that you're turning right there on that tool. That way it makes it turn a lot easier too. So if you don't, you'll damage the threads. So give an update here in a few minutes. Alright, finally got the harmonic bouncer wheel off and everything. Happily sitting down here on the floor, and looks like it came off pretty good. Now I did have to do a little trick here with the tool that I bought. Of course, you rent it, they give you that, and they give you this little rod. But the problem is, by the time you put this bolt and it goes up into the rod, you can only get your pulley off so far, and it seems like it runs out of room. So what I did, ingeniously, I cut me a bolt, a little short bolt, cut it off, and I stuck it down in the end of this end here, and put the pulley on that, the rod on that. That gives me enough leverage here, enough distance to get that puller the rest of the way off. Just so you know. So what I'm going to do is take it out. It's already made that. I'm keeping that little baby because you never know. So just so you know, a penny won't work or whatever, because the rod will just go right through the penny and just go down in here. But I don't know why they don't make that rod just a little bit longer. Get that off, but that is off, and I'm happy. Now I can start taking the plastic off and so forth, and get that bracket off up there, and hopefully continue here. So I'll check in here in a little bit and give you another update. Another update here. I finally got the pulley off down at the bottom. Now I'm taking the two pulleys off here at the top, the gears, and I had a kind of a hard issue here trying to figure this out. So what I did, I used a looks like an 18. I believe it's 18, let's see. Yeah, 18 on it to break that bolt loose, and I had to use an 18 back here in the back to break that one. Well, the problem I had was that the whole thing was turning, so I just stuck a bolt. I got a big bolt, stuck it under the belt right here, under this one pulley where it was turning, and with that bolt in there, it caught that belt and got up against that gear, and it held this nice and tight. And both bolts now are free, so I can continue taking this out and all that. Probably not the best way in the world to do it. I'm sure there's probably a tool to keep these two gears from turning to take these bolts out, but that was the best thing I could find right now. And it actually worked pretty good, and all I gotta do is just back it out and take that bolt out, and I should be good to go. Actually, if I just loosen the pulleys down there, I should get it out there. But probably wouldn't recommend you to do it. But I've had many years of experience of doing this stuff. So, alright, well, we'll check back in a little bit. Next thing to do now is start unbolting this head and getting it off there. I'm anxious to see what happened there with that gasket and everything. But other than that, I'll give you back up here. I'll give you an update shortly. Alright, some good news here. Finally got the head off after about 2 hours. Had to take all the manifold bolts out from behind, and they were pretty easy to take off, and all the cylinders look good. And there's the one that had the water in it. You can see the other three have corrosion and actually corrosion carbon in there, but that's the one that was getting the water. And I found what was bad. The head gasket is actually, I apologize for my poor video camera skills here, but it's kind of hard to do. The head gasket was actually blowing right here in the middle. Let's see. Dead center between the two cylinders right here, there's a place right there that's eating through, and water was coming through this hole here. Water jacket. These three are water jackets, and the water was leaking through here and going into the cylinder. But this is basically what was causing my issue. So I'm going to still take the head tomorrow and have it checked. Let me see if I can get a better. There you can see it right there where it's kind of burnt. So we'll get a new head gasket twice. I got a head gasket for it sitting over there. There's only I believe it was $38. They had it in stock, so I'll get that in there tomorrow and put everything in nice order. You got to take the cam and the so you got to take the cam and all the little rocker arms and stuff off to actually get into the head bolts. But I'm pretty happy about this. Took a while. Took about a good 2 days to get this thing apart. 3 hours here, and actually about 4 hours a day. But I just put a lot of stuff on the side. But what I'm going to do is take this manifold off, bolt it back on the intake. I mean, not the intake, the head, and put it back in because it looks like my manifold is cracked. Got a crack back there, so I'm going to either get another manifold or try to weld it. I'll have to inspect and see how bad it is. But then again, it could be just dirt. It's hard to say, but I'm going to check that out. But one other thing here you can notice. See the exhaust here? Notice how that one's got carbon, and look at the cylinder right there. See that rust? That coordinates with that cylinder. See, there we go. There's the rusty one. Coordinates with that cylinder right there. So hopefully we'll be in good shape as I take this thing to the machine shop tomorrow and have them do a compression check on it. I mean, not a compression check, a test to make sure it's not cracked or anything. So that's how it stands right now, and I am done for tonight. I'm going to put the head gasket on tomorrow and start putting the head back in. I'll give you an update and all that good stuff. For now, later, YouTubers. Alright, day 3. Actually, only worked on it for a couple hours today, but I got the head on. Head bolts are all torqued. And all I gotta do now is put the rocker arms and camshafts back in, and I can start putting the intake back in it and hold up my manifold back there. I actually took the manifold off the back of it when I took it off. The bolts were real easy to get to, so I just took it off. I wanted to make sure the manifold actually had a crack in it, so I had to weld it, so it wasn't a big deal. But other than that, it's going back together pretty slow. We'll come back here in a little bit and give you an update on what's going on with it. But right now, everything's going pretty good. I got a brand new gasket on it, head gasket, and got all the bolts torqued down. I had to go and look at the book, see what it said. And other than that, we're good to go. I'm using the same bolts head bolts that I took out because I checked them. They weren't stretched or anything. I know they recommend you buy new bolts on this crap, but I just figured, if the bolts aren't strapped, it says stretched out, you can use the old bolts. So that's what I did, and I've done it before in the past, and it hasn't been a problem. So we'll give you an update a little bit later and let you know how it's going as we continue here and wrap things up. Alright, got the timing belt on and everything. It was kind of a bit of a bitch to do, but finally got the marks lined up there. Got the crankshaft down there on the number 1 position, straight up and down. I got the covers back on, and I got to actually loosen the motor mount back up and let it drop down a little bit so I can put the damper pulley back on. And all I got to do is put the intake on and valve pan cover, gasket, and some wires, and ultimately I'm in pretty good shape. I could probably start this here in a little bit. So it's going a little slowly, but you got to make sure you get your timing marks just right. And if I can zoom in there, you can see there's 2 little marks right there. What you got to get together straight across, and there's instructions online how to do that. But that's basically how you do it. If you get those in there and make sure that's pointing straight up down there on the number 1 mark on the oil pump there, there's a little mark. Make sure those marks are lined up and you should be good to go. Alright, give you an update here shortly. Alright, 3 hours later, finally got it all back together here. Got water in it. Double checked everything, make sure everything's hooked up. So we're going to go ahead and start it up here, and I'm going to kind of set the camera here. We can kind of watch it as I start it up. Hopefully, let's see, you can see it or not here. Probably I'll just hold the camera here just for a second. We'll see if it'll crank over. Well, there we go. It's running. Sounds pretty good. And I got the, can't believe it, I got it at the right time. See how it sounds here. All right. Can't believe it. Well, that is done. That's what you got to do if you want to replace the head and the belt. Everything looks good. That's the main thing. So hopefully this will give you some idea on how to do this and everything. And check gauges in here. And everything seems to be okay. I'm ready to shut it off. But that's basically what you got to do to get it going. It's took me about 3 days to do it. I could have done it probably in 2 days, but I was got sick the second day. Had to take a break for a day or two. Old age, I guess. But hopefully everything will be okay, and I'll have to take it out on the highway here. Maybe give you one more update on the video. But that's how you do it. Hopefully, if you've got a 240, you're putting a timing belt or even a head on it, this will help you out a lot. One quick thing about that front motor mount down there that I said I tuck out to let the engine, the side of it, to drop down a little bit, get that damper off. You might be able to get around that, but I did it just because it gave me like another inch or two to lower that side, this side of the engine over here to get that bottom pulley off, the damper and everything. So maybe I'll make one more quick video here as I'm driving it here the next couple of days after I get it legal. I'll take it for a spin. I'll shoot some video for you. That'll do it. Later, YouTubers.